you have a question in the chat. Since there are so many on the call, you may want to switch to speaker view and you will be able to see her better. She'll be the center picture. I would like to thank Julie Yawitz, our Vice Chair of Engagement and the Women's Philanthropy Outreach Committee, for their ideas and leadership putting together this exciting series of speakers. The purpose of Women's Philanthropy is to connect as a community with each other as Jewish women, as well as with many important agencies and programs that the Jewish Federation of St. Louis supports. Through our engagement, educational, and community service efforts, along with the campaign, Women's Philanthropy truly inspires social good. Today's topic is discussing organizing our pantry, and it got me thinking about the importance of food security, which is a critical need in our community, now more than ever. The Harvey Kornblum Jewish Food Pantry, a program of Jewish Family Service, has seen a drastic increase in need in our community. This April, the food pantry served 2,139 families, which included 632 new families. The number of new families is a 500% increase from April of last year. Jewish Federation helps support these ongoing efforts through the Community Response Fund and the annual campaign. Many of you joined Women's Philanthropy's virtual community service event, Shower Our Community with Love, and sent personal care items to the food pantry. You can learn more about these efforts and others by visiting the Jewish Federation website. Now more than ever, Federation is here for good. I am thrilled to introduce our guest speaker, Lizzy Klein. Lizzy is a St. Louis-based professional organizer. Lizzy is a firm believer that organization is a skill that everyone can learn. She brings non-judgmental, lighthearted approach to decluttering with her clients. Lizzy discovered her passion for organization and decluttering while being a full-time mom of 4. Keeping a tidy and functionally organized home was her secret to keeping schedules and a consistent routine for all 4. Now that all 4 of her children are in school, well, we're in school, she has decided to share the love of reimagining and home organization with the community. Lizzy helps families dive into their closets, pantries, storage spaces, offices, and much more to help them rekindle their appreciation for the space they have. Less is more is the concept Lizzy helps teach her clients they can maintain a decluttered lifestyle. We will put Lizzy's contact information in the chat box, and it will also be in the follow-up email. Lizzy, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Hello, thank you all so much for having me. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, okay. First of all, this is the largest Zoom group I've ever spoken to. I've been doing Zoom workouts and obviously my kids are in Zoom school all day long, but I'm seeing a lot of faces, which is nice. So at the beginning of the pandemic, the crisis, everything, I know my husband called me and he's like, we need to stockpile. Well, for me, stockpiling causes me actually anxiety because like Marianne said, less is more. So if I see less, I'm more creative, I have a better idea. And so I find that when you stockpile, you see so much and it can be overwhelming. Well, during this time, we had to stockpile because when we would go to our stores, it's like, oh my gosh, there really is no toilet. I had to like literally go to the store to see it, to believe it. You know, I mean, who, I don't know about all of you, we don't talk about the pandemic so much, but to me, it was unbelievable. So anyway, I had to stockpile in my house a little bit too. So when it came to the pantry, you know, there were things that were coming in like, you know, the staples, but there were 3 or 4 staples of ketchup and mustards and all these things that were like, okay, yeah, we need these, but you know what, we're only going to be here for a few weeks. Well, a few weeks ended up being, I think it was 2 months, you know, and now it's like, okay, we're slowly getting back into regular, not totally regular life, but slowly getting back to somewhat normalcy. Well, what are we going to do with all this stuff? And so I kind of started thinking about it at the beginning because, like I said, it kind of caused me anxiety to have so much stuff. So in regular time as well, when people do stockpile or when I help people in their pantries or their closets, well, we don't want to, if we see all this stuff, we end up just buying the same stuff over and over again. We use what's in front. So I'm going to talk about the pantry today in particular, but it really applies to any area in your house. So for instance, when it comes to the pantry, I highly, highly recommend starting fresh, taking everything out and really seeing what you have. What do I have? Okay, well, I have you know, all my staples, and then I have stuff that I haven't used in years, and then I have stuff that's been expired or that's expired. And so what do I do with that stuff? Well, obviously the expired stuff we discard. You know, we don't want to eat old food. We don't want to eat spices that we're not using and that are expired. And then we look at, okay, let's say we have so many cans of something that we haven't made in a while, or we have so many containers of pasta. Okay, are we going to use that? Well, during this time, we probably were thinking, well, we might use that. So, and then in a regular time, maybe we would donate that stuff. And Marianne talked about the Food Pantry. Obviously, there's wonderful organizations. A lot of people were not able to buy food at this time. And, you know, if we have this excess, it's a great way to let go, is to donate, obviously. And then we, you know, talk about putting things back into the pantry. Well, what are we going to do? We want to put it back, but we don't want it to be, now it's all been cleaned out and we got rid of the expired and we, you know, maybe donated some. Well, we want to make sure that we put it back so we can see what we have. And so we don't keep buying the same stuff over and over and over again. So I always say in any part of the house, closets, rooms, the organizing is actually the easy part. It's the editing that's the hard part. So you start thinking about, what if we need it? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna feel bad. Well, I don't know if any of you, and you can raise your hand if any of you have ever gotten rid of something and have you gotten rid of something and then really missed it? Most of the time when we let go of something, we tend to forget about it. And there might be something that we can say, okay, well, so we have to really think about it. Well, stuff in the pantry is, thank God, for the most part, are replaceable. So anyway, so when it comes to going back into the pantry and getting it organized, we want to do it by category. So that's not that hard. But anyway, there's great items, and I don't, you know, I shop at the Container Store. The other day I ordered something on Amazon. I don't have a particular favorite. A store like the Container Store does have everything in one spot. But right now, they're not even open to really go in and shop. So if you really want to get organized, you can, you know, order online, you can go to Target, you can go to the dollar store. You don't have to spend tons of money on the organizing accessories. But there are great things like Lazy Susans. So I highly recommend these for, like, I rinsed it out, oil, vinegars. That way you can see what you have. And then if you need to replace something, then you could see that it's not there. Or, you know, I'll talk in a minute about the extra stuff, but we can really see what we have. And then I like these. They're for cans. We don't eat a ton of canned food, but I happen to have 2 of these in my pantry because I put, like, spaghetti sauce, you know, tomato sauce, cans, hearts of palm. So you can really see it. And then when they stack up, you can say, oh, I have my hearts of palm. Oh, I have my beans. Oh, I have this. And then I don't know if I'm looking around, I don't know if you have little kids at home or if you like grab and go snacks. Sorry, I was trying to do this so it's accessible. I always put, I call it like decanting. I always put the grab and go snacks. I take them out of the box, and then I have kind of like a healthy bin and a more junky bin. And that way my cat, you know, someone says I want a snack, they can just go grab it. Easy. And that way, again, less is more, but you can also see what you have instead of having 27 half open granola bar boxes and then keep buying and buying and buying. Okay. And then I always, okay. And then, you know, like for the bigger snacks, I have this. That way, you know, and this one I actually labeled. I'm not a huge labeler. Like in my storage room, I do label, but for this, just because sometimes things get lost, that way everyone knows where the snacks are. And so, you know, you can kind of put them together, but they're not getting lost in the shuffle. You can take it out and say, oh, here's the snacks. I'm just giving you some examples of different containers and all that. So I actually left it in my other room. I'm not going to run to get it, but certain things like sugar, powdered sugar, flour, staples, brown sugar, and especially like in a family that's, you know, gluten-free, or if you have different kinds of flours, it's really nice to be able to put those in containers. And they have, you know, the airtight, they're called OXO. You can get those at Target, online, Container Store, all these different places. but I cannot tell you how many houses I go into where there is literally 4 bags of open flour. So when you have an organized pantry, not only do you save time, you save money, and you don't and you don't waste, which is to me a wonderful thing. Because I know certain things, like we happen to keep kosher, but like non-dairy chocolate chips, they're about $5 a bag. And so I was at someone's house, it was one of my first clients years ago, and she had about 20 bags of them. And I said, why do you have so many bags of dark chocolate chips, non-dairy? And she said, I didn't even know I had those. So, because they were all mixed around. So if they're, and you don't have to necessarily like put them in a separate container, but if they're in your baking area, then you know where they are and you don't keep buying and buying and buying. And then as far as what I talked about in the beginning of when all this happened, what do we do with the extra stuff? Because we want to see all of our regular stuff front and center. We want to see the pasta sauce. We want to see the pasta. We want to see the cereal. What do we do with all those extra things of pasta? We put it in a different spot. So in my pantry, I put it at the top. I'm always looking for a space that we can go to, that we know exactly where those things are. So, you know, again, same situation in the closet. You have those favorite pair of tennis shoes. I don't highly recommend overbuying tennis shoes and all that kind of stuff. But if you have those shoes that you love and they're on sale and you're worried that they're not going to be replaceable, you put them in a spot where you know exactly where they are. But you're not going to put the 2 pairs of tennis shoes next to each other if you're only wearing one of them. So in my pantry, for instance, I always put the extra stuff on the top. And so when when we're making our grocery list, I always tell, sorry, it's exit the screen. Oh, here now I just see Mary Ann. Gallery view. When we're doing our grocery list, I always tell, you know, my husband's usually right now the one who has been shopping, but I always say, look up there. Do not bring me home any more ketchup. We have enough. Don't bring me home anymore. And it's funny because the other day he bought a lot of stuff that we didn't need that we already had. And I said, you didn't look up there, did you? And he's like, I forgot, Lizzy. I'm like, well, don't bring any more of that home. You know, it's just because it's just too much. And a lot of people there's different like schools where I personally like when my pantry's a little bit more empty, because then I'm more creative with what I'm cooking. Or like when it's Saturday or Sunday morning before someone goes to the grocery store. And I'm like, wow, I love it. I can see everything. And then all of a sudden we go to the grocery store and it gets packed up again. And I have to do my little reorganizing and everything. But I find I'm much more creative with my cooking, and I'm making more stuff and using something I wouldn't likely have used if there is less in the pantry. But I know for some people that causes anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, there's not enough, or we don't have any food. So I'm not saying that everyone should do that. It's just for me, I find myself more creative when we have less. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If anyone has any questions, I know we can talk about other rooms besides the pantry. I had my family clean out our garage at the beginning of the pandemic because I was like, everyone is home and let's make it fun. And they're like, this isn't fun. But I'm like, it's fun for me. And if we're going to be here for a few weeks, I want everyone to know where the bikes are. I want everyone to know where the chalk is. And, you know, so anyway, if anyone has any questions in general, please feel free to ask. Okay. Okay, so.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Yeah. Help me with
Thank you. That was wonderful. Maybe you could solve a problem I have.
Yes.
It's not, well, I'm like you. I really don't like having my pantry overloaded like that, even though my family keeps telling me that I have to have all these supplies. But I keep buying the same supply. I keep buying the stuff that I'm probably not going to use for who knows how long. Do you have like a theory on just how much of these staples you should stop buying at a certain point? We are hopefully going to be out of this in the next, hopefully, year.
Are you grocery shopping yourself?
No, not too much now, but I will go, when I'm out of milk,
Yeah.
I'll go, but I have a method that's amazing, so I'm not exposed that much, but I do
Yeah.
buy stupid stuff.
No,
So
it's smart.
stop buying stupid stuff.
You know, I mean, if it's something like, I'm just using ketchup because I feel like that's a household staple. So if you're using it, I mean, there's really no problem having it, obviously. But I would like to see it in a different spot than in the front and center. You know what I mean? So like, let's say you have a storage area in your garage or a storage area in your basement and you don't have enough room in your pantry to add, then keep it there, but just know what you have so that you're not buying 20 of them, because then eventually it's going to expire or it's going to turn a weird color that you're not going to want to eat, use. Because like there's a lot of spices that don't really expire, let's say, but I've seen spice cabinets can get pretty cluttered in the clients' houses that I, go to, and they'll have 3 or 4, basils, and some of them just don't look like the right color, even if I can't find the exact expiration date.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Lizzy, there are a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
So Marianne wanted to know, after editing and organizing, my issue tends to be that I can't keep it organized with a family of 6 in and out of the pantry. How do you get your kids and your husband on board?
Okay, a little bit of it broke up. Sorry, so were you talking about the pantry or just in general?
Marianne, I'm gonna throw it back to you.
Sorry, it's
all right. In general, but the pantry was a big one because I organized it. I had all my bins. I did the snack thing, everything that you would suggest.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my kids range from almost 2 to 13.
Yeah.
And they're not on board.
I know.
They're in it to trash it.
It's hard. Like, I mean, like you said, I have 4 kids too, ranging from 17 to my youngest who's 10. And they're not all on board either. But it's something that really makes me happy. It helps me run my household. And I am constantly keeping up with it. So I have clients that will text me, Lizzy, thank gosh you came over and we did my pantry, because it has helped me so much during this time. And then I have clients that are like, Lizzy, I need you to come back. I can't keep up with it. I mean, it just kind of depends. So it depends on like for you, like, do you want to hound them all the time and try to keep them up with it? Or do you just also like leading by example? It's like anything else. And so I'll try to be like, the garage, it's going to be so much fun to clean. I mean, they're not thinking it's fun to clean, but if you bring out the bubbles and the sidewalk chalk and you and your husband are doing it, or then like they see it. And I have kids that range from super, super organized to the one in the other room that was trying to come in. I mean, hot mess express, but I really try to keep my house pared down. That's why, I was saying it just relieves a lot of anxiety for me, because things, especially now with the Amazon world, so much is coming in our house. Like even the mail, like holiday season with all the catalogs and stuff. I mean, that alone can take up a whole counter space within getting the mail and the Amazon and the Targets and the boxes, you know what I mean? So I hope that helped answer your question. I mean, I think it's just, we just have to, like, especially now when everyone's home, it's just hard,
Yeah.
Varied. And I'm sure, especially, I've said this 100 times, and I'm sure, you all can relate. I mean, my kids are a little older, so I'm very grateful for that. I think it's extremely hard during this time to have little kids at home with everything. So I know you said your oldest is 13, which is great, but you also have a 2-year-old, so you have to like be realistic with yourself. And hopefully, God willing, one day they'll all be at school, they'll all be at camp, and we can OCD everything. But it doesn't have to be perfect. These are just ideas,
Yeah. Stacy, do you want me to read Vicky's question?
Yeah, that would be great. Go ahead.
So Lizzy, Vicky wants to know, she said, some of us have inherited many belongings, souvenirs, papers, photographs, etc. from parents and family members. How do we edit all these things, especially when these items have sentimental and emotional attachments?
Okay, good question. and I deal with this a lot because I know it's extremely, extremely hard for people. And, you know, myself included, like pictures, certain things are so sentimental, and like, I, for me personally, have a very hard time letting go of pictures. Although I did literally during this time OCD my picture collection. So the doubles and the triples and all that, I had to let go of, because I needed to get it to a place where it was like easy for my family also loves pictures. So I wanted them to be able to see it and enjoy it. So I give the example. Let's say with your, you know, grandparents, or the items that you receive from your parents. Let's say it was, I'm just, because it was the Jewish groups, I'm just saying like Shabbos candles. So let's say those Shabbos candles, you know, your mom lit them, you know, your mom got them from her parents, you know, or they were wedding gifts, and they're extremely, extremely sentimental. Of course, those you're going to keep, but use them, or you don't have to light them. I mean, whatever you want to do, but just look at them. You know, they don't need to be tucked away in a box, because if they're tucked away in a box, you're not going to enjoy them. They're going to probably end up, gosh knows, like, you know, not to be found or whatever. But when it comes to things like furniture, a couch, I mean, I know it was, you know, my mom's couch and everything, but that doesn't really, and I don't want to, you know, everyone has their level of attachments, but a couch doesn't have the same attachment, I would think, as a candles, you know, candles that your mom lit every Friday night and she got them from her mom. So I think we just have to be realistic with how much that we could be attached to. And a lot of times I have clients that will take pictures, like let's say with their kids' art projects or something. And they're like, Lizzy, I'm ready to do this. I know I have so much, I have to start editing, but I have such attachment. And I said, listen, I understand your kids made these art projects, or, you know, with the example of certain things that we got from our families, our parents, our magazine articles, maybe take a picture of it and then let it go. You know, so I think it's just, we have to just be, again, like being realistic with our expectations. We have to be realistic with how much stuff we can have, because at the end of the day, it's not all going to go with us, you know? And one of my first clients I ever went to, she had 6 bins, and I personally like clear bins, because if you don't label, or you do label, you can actually see like what's in them. Well, these were big blue tubs, and she had 6 stacked. And I said to her, I said, you know, we're working on your basement, but what are those tubs right there? Are we going to dive into that? Because I want to see how much time we have for everything. She goes, Lizzy, those are bins that I just picked up at my mom's house. They have my old ballet slippers in there. They have this, they have that. And she goes, I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't even want to open them. So there you go. You know, just so the thing is, like, a lot of times, like, we want to save these for our children, but maybe our children aren't necessarily going to want all of it. I see some, you know, mixed faces in the crowd, but, you know, and so I think it's just like, if we want to save that stuff for our family members, make it easy for them when we do give that to them. You know, like, take all that wrapping off and get it to the level of like that we can say, oh, here's a magazine article about grandpa, or here's a stack of magazine articles, instead of just, here's your box of stuff, you know. Then it's like, ooh, what are we gonna do with it? And then all that saving was kind of for nothing, you know.
Yeah, my parents just did that to me. Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for your great advice, and thank everybody for being here. We hope you will join us next Wednesday, same time, same place. I want to let you know that all sessions will be recorded and posted on the Women's Philanthropy webpage at wp.jfedstl.org. And this concludes our formal program. We welcome you to stay on and chat with women in our community, and I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Everyone stay safe, and I hope we all have an easy re-entering back to whatever normalcy can be.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lizzy. Thank you, Mary Ann.